I pretty much talked about every major Tom Clancy video game on this channel, except for this series. This is Rainbow Six Vegas on the Xbox 360, and I'm pretty sure this is the first Rainbow Six game I played. I remember when this game came out, I was actually interested in playing it, but time just went by, and well, I guess I just never got around to it. So, after picking up this game and the others for my game collection, I finally decided to check it out. And, well, here's my thoughts. Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Vegas is this tactical first person shooter with a very nice third person cover mechanic. Actually, I believe this is the first game to ever use the third person cover mechanic in an experience that is otherwise first person, but someone can correct me if I'm wrong. Now, you are part of this elite team of a counter-terrorist unit known as Rainbow, and you're tasked with going into Las Vegas to pacify high-stakes situations. And that's really the hook of this game. You're going into these public and iconic locations, trying to save hostages, dispatch armed thugs, and overall just defuse any potential threats to civilian life. There's a tone to this game that just feels so surreal in today's world, and that's the thing that kind of kept coming into my head as I was playing through this game. You know, this isn't so hard to imagine actually happening today, what with all the craziness and war and crime that happens in the world. And so in this game, they do a very good job at really selling the authenticity of the experience. You have to enter each room in each area and quickly survey all the potential dangers that could unfold at, well, any moment's notice. And you also have your squad with you who's kind of looking to your guidance to help them tactically resolve what's unfolding, but also save their own life as well. So this game gets quite hectic and does have a few notable set pieces, so I won't say it's quite really a representation of what really would go down as if, this were to actually happen, but, this game does tend to sort of Hollywood up some action set pieces, and the army you're taking down is massively funded and well armed too, so there are some liberties when it comes to how this game essentially raises the stakes. The overall story in this one is also fairly generic. It's serviceable and it gets the job done, and your character actually does have a personality and isn't just another regular soldier. So you do have names here, and you can select your squad members, your gear, and sort of other details before going into battle. So there is some decision making when it comes to putting together the core gameplay experience, and this does actually have a real effect on your battle readiness and combat effectiveness throughout the game. But the story is sort of in the background of all of this, and I actually found myself not quite caring about much of the reason behind why the things were going on. Instead, I just couldn't wait to see what the next area would be and all the locations I would recognize while going through these levels. Now, graphically, I played this game on Xbox Series X via backwards compatibility, and I think the visuals do look quite nice. Series X also adds Auto HDR to this game, which just does a great job really bringing out the highlights, especially in the Las Vegas sections. You just have all these beautiful neon signs, the slot machines, and, well, the muzzle flashes as well from the weapons. They're just blinding you when you walk into these areas, and it's also has somewhat an effect on the gameplay element too. Now, you do have gear that allows you to visibly read heat signatures, night vision. You also have to rely on these from time to time in order to basically effectively get through an area, and some of these guys are actually really tough as well. But the game is nice looking, although I do have to say I think it doesn't quite live up graphically to what I had experienced prior with Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter as well as Splinter Cell Double Agent, which were all released in the same year as this game. So to me, this felt like it looked a bit more graphically dated than the other ones, whether that's down to this game's more, real art direction, its reliance to trying to look somewhat photorealistic, or just different engines being used. I'm not sure, but this game just felt like it showed its age a bit more in that respect when it came to its graphical presentation. It's still a really decent looking game though, and I had no problem getting immersed into the environments and feeling like I was actually, taking part in lived in spaces. I also need to praise this game's level design. It's quite outstanding, and there's multiple routes to get to your objectives, so the places truly feel like realistic renditions of the actual famous places in Las Vegas. And this also helps make each reload and retry feel just that little bit more special, because you can use this to your advantage to test out different tactics. And there's definitely multiple ways to get through an area. Some ways are more chaotic than others. Some pathways allow you to circumvent the enemies and surprise them. And there are even routes that let you skip entire rooms. So there's real attention to detail here when it comes to how the developers made these levels. And each location has this in varied ways. Alright everyone, it's time to take a look at the Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Vegas box art. This is the 360 version. I like the neon signs of this one. It's pretty cool. The spine is also nice and color-coded in red. And then on the back here we have Sin City is about to get a wake-up call with a badge for IGN's Best of E3 2006 winner. So that's really cool to see. Let's take a look inside. So we got a nice clean copy of the game disc here with the manual. The game disc sort of shows a overview of the Las Vegas Strip, which is nice. And we got no scratches on the disc, which is really good for preservation. And then inside the manual here, we got a pretty thick manual, I have to say. You know, this goes into the 20 pages range, so that's nice to see. We just got details about controls, single player controls. There's information about the interface to different weapon types, you know, reloading those weapons, tagging and using the tactical map, different things about the interface, the game screen, the different icons on the screen. It's really nice to see a manual that kind of goes into absurd detail about all the different areas and elements, basically, of its game. It's always good to see that. So, although it is a black and white manual, it is one of the more thicker manuals that we typically see during this era. And again, it goes into nice detail about all that stuff, so that's cool. And we even got an ad for Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell Double Agent, which I already talked about and loved on the channel. So cool look at the Rainbow Six Vegas box art. Now, one thing I do think quite hurts the presentation is when you're getting hit by the enemy's bullets. This game decides to blur the edges of the screen in this odd, like, strobing black and white vignette effect, and you'll be seeing it quite frequently as enemies just shoot at you. But, you know, I really dislike this because it really gets in the way of you being able to visibly see the enemies you're supposed to be firing at. And, you know, it's such an odd thing to complain about, really, but it just annoyed me as I was having to desperately trying to get my bearings entering a new area. You know, you get shut up, you have to quickly look for cover and mark the enemies in their locations, and I was just squinting my eyes for far too much going through this, and I do think it does more harm than good when it comes to displaying your health in the game and, you know, how much vitality you have left. But the game does make up for this with the variety of locations you get to visit, so the battles and war feel like it's on a much larger scale and not something that's just basically insignificant. Sound-wise, this is also very solid. The gun sounds and the casings bouncing off the floors are a real highlight here. The game just sounds fantastic, and the firefights really do feel quite dangerous and nerve-wracking, and you just hear these bullets zooming past you at times, and this is helped further by the great inertia of the guns. They each pack quite a punch, so you can't just hold down the trigger and expect to make it through a group of enemies. Recoil and weight really have an effect on the gun handling, and it really helps bring an element of dynamism into these fights that I think without it would just feel fairly generic and not as tactful. So as we close off here, I just wanted to say it was quite nice to finally play this game after all these years. I am part of the group of people who were extremely sad and disappointed with Ubisoft's decision to cancel Rainbow Six Patriots and instead fund the multiplayer-only Rainbow Six Siege game that, well, we still have today. But I know people love Siege, and it still has quite a strong community, even though the game is going on almost 10 years at this point. But Ubisoft just seems that they have no plans whatsoever to ever make a new Rainbow Six game, a traditional Rainbow Six game. And that's really sad to me. I don't quite get this concept that both can't be achieved. Like, we can't get both a really engaging multiplayer game, but also this campaign that pushes boundaries. And I'm not even sure why Patriots ended up getting canceled. Friends of mine tell me it had to do with the tone of the game and it being offensive to some. But, you know, we've seen similar events that were portrayed like that, you know, make their way into games today. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019 and its Piccadilly stage kind of come to mind when thinking about games that kind of embodied what Patriots was kind of going for. But you know, it's sad that it just never lived to see the light of day. But at least this game is preserved forever. It is fun to play after all these years. And there was a direct sequel, Rainbow Six Vegas 2, which I will be looking at in a separate video later. So I hope you guys can join me for that one. For now, though, let me know what you all think if you played the original Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Vegas. And what do you want to see next from the Rainbow Six series? Do you care about getting a new story? Or are you all in on the Siege experience? Hope you guys have a great day, and thank you so much for watching this video.